your first watch?
Hello, and welcome to the First Watch podcast inaugural episode. I'm really excited to be here, and if you're here listening to this right now, thank you so much for tuning in. Very excited to have you aboard. Today I'm going to be talking about Spike Lee's newest feature film, Da 5 Bloods, which was released just a few weeks ago on June 12th. It's now streaming on Netflix. Coming off the heels of the Academy Award-winning BlacKkKlansman, a film which netted Spike Lee his first non-honorary Oscar, Da 5 Bloods tells the story of 4 black Vietnam veterans who returned to the Southeast Asian country in search of both gold and the body of their fallen comrade. In the short time since its release, Da 5 Bloods has been widely critically praised, and I have to say I agree with what most people are saying. This is a late career work that's stylish, bold, and a bit of a messy tangle of genres and ideas. In my estimation, Lee is nothing short of an American master, but even if that praise seems a little lofty to some, he is undeniably one of, if not the very most important, visible, and celebrated black filmmakers in the history of cinema, and to me, that means that when he speaks, I listen. When Spike Lee releases a film, I eagerly await it, and I have to say that in the run-up to this film, I was really delighted to see how many people took the time to go through his catalog, not just his most celebrated works like Malcolm X or Do the Right Thing, but also smaller and unheralded works such as Bamboozled or Clockers. It's nice to think that even though he hasn't always been appreciated in the way that I feel that he should, going forward more people are engaged with Spike's unique voice and visionary ideas. I think part of what accounts for that is that both this film and BlacKkKlansman feel extremely timely. In fact, it's difficult to remember or even to imagine a more timely film than Da 5 Bloods. Along with Dave Chappelle's comedy special come sermon 8 minutes and 46 seconds, a special so raw that it could have been a live stream, Da 5 Bloods feels uniquely created for this precise moment, and it's worthwhile to take the time to admire just how rare of a thing that is. Even a film like The Assistant, another 2020 feature whose subject matter is alarmingly relevant, feels a bit late, if only by inches. The Black Lives Matter and anti-police protests that have come to define the experience of 2020 make Da 5 Bloods feel like it was written yesterday. Such timeliness has always been one of Spike's great strengths, and there's a secret to it. While Spike's very best work can often feel prescient or even prophetic, the truth is his work is always grounded firmly within our world. The quality which gives it its sense of timeliness and timelessness is that Spike sees Black American history exactly as it is, a cycle repeating itself throughout time. At multiple points in the film, the case is made that the Black GI experience has been the very same since the beginning, from Crispus Attucks to the Civil War to the so-called American War at the center of Da 5 Bloods. Spike posits that an inevitable result of American conflict is Black death, and almost always for a cause that does not benefit them, and against an enemy far less threatening than those in their own country. What makes this such an effective writing technique is that by understanding the repetitive nature of Black history, Spike can write about the present, past, and future simultaneously. Its prescience is rooted in the harrowing but demonstrably true fact that to this point, things have not changed. Lee naturally channels his signature righteous fury about this recurring tragedy, but Da 5 Bloods is not merely a film defined by anger. It is, without exaggeration, the most emotionally affecting new release I have seen so far this year, and that's because it's bursting with empathy for its characters. In particular, there is a father and son pairing in this film, portrayed with extreme skill and palpable emotion by the always excellent Jonathan Majors and frequent Spike Lee collaborator Delroy Lindo. The latter of these two has been immensely celebrated, but for me, it's these two men's collaborative work and their characters' complex relationship that truly makes Da 5 Bloods shine. It's no coincidence that the best and most resonant scenes feature one or both of these two men. Lindo's character, Paul, is frankly one of Lee's best written characters to date, a layered man both wounded and haunted by his experiences in the jungle. What captivates me about Paul and David's father-son relationship is how the film characterizes Paul's experiences in Vietnam as the root of his fraught relationship with his son. Quickly after we meet Paul, we learn that he's a Trump supporter, a rare thing among Black Americans. His son David, by contrast, is an African American studies professor with multiple Obama portraits on his classroom wall. And while the film calls Paul out on his political beliefs, the implication is that after sacrificing so much of himself for his country, the man has been forcibly formed into a true American, a man who thinks only of himself. And I'll reiterate, Spike does this with maximum empathy. Though Lee is vocally opposed to the current president, he demonstrates a clear understanding that Paul's politics are defined, like much else in his life, by his suffering and his unique experiences. There is a clear affection and even an admiration between father and son, but it is not without some difficulty. Paul is an emotionally damaged man, and it is outright said that he did not show his son the proper affection. Throughout the narrative, Paul and David's relationship alternates on an almost scene-by-scene basis between positive and negative. In one moment, David is Paul's son, and he's proud, and in the next moment, David is a traitor. In one moment, David seems hopeful that he might have finally begun to heal his relationship with his father, and in the next he'll seem crestfallen. The actors each do a tremendous job of playing off one another and showing off the litany of emotions that have built up over the course of these two men's lives together, and the result is both moving and profound. In addition to the cyclical nature of black men dying in conflict, The Five Bloods makes the case that the trauma inherited in such battles is the legacy a black GI leaves his child. Consider that one of the other film's Bloods, Otis, himself has a daughter who has lived her entire life without knowing him. The American War, as it turns out, not only takes black sons from their families, but actively manifests itself as generational strife. The ghosts that haunt Paul will haunt his son, and so on until the nightmare ends. The trauma of war is not only a ruck to carry through the mud, but a family heirloom whose weight can drag down old friends and even the strongest of men. In the end, the film argues salvation is found both in forgiveness and in the act of charitable giving. Demons cannot be buried or ignored, but must be pulled out by the root. Healing happens when you give freely of yourself, even in this harsh world where some men have to give entirely too much. The Five Bloods is a great film. For any complaints about its unevenness, it's also razor sharp and truly effective. I absolutely encourage anyone who has not seen it to do so. If you've seen The Five Bloods, what did you think of it? Please let me know any feedback in the comments, and if you've made it this far, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed it, please like or share, and I hope to talk to you guys again soon.